the attacks that modern scholarship is placing via the ancient documents that they found that supposedly uncover a new radical Jesus. We just got done talking about the Gospel of Thomas, but this one here, the Gospel of Peter, 1 Peter, this is a real trip. Talk about this one.
That's a good way to describe it. The grave in the coffin of a monk in the 9th century, they found this document. And they think it may be the Gospel of Peter. They're not sure, but okay.
Where did you find this document?
Hello. First of all, what are you doing in a monk's coffin? I want to know that. But other than that, they found it. And this is not a document that people have been looking for through the centuries and saying this will hold some key. In fact, church historians dating back centuries before that warned. They said, by the way, there's this wacky thing floating around called the Gospel of Peter. Don't believe it. It's whacked out. So anyway, they look at this thing and they say, wow, look at this story. It tells about Jesus giving over, Pilate rather, giving over Jesus to be crucified. It talks about some high priests or some priests who spend the night in the graveyard. And then out of the tomb comes these angels whose heads go to the clouds. And then Jesus, whose head goes beyond the clouds. This is an NBA dream team. You would pay $1 million to get them to play basketball for you. And then there's a cross that comes behind them. So how this cross is moving, I don't know, but the cross is behind them. And you hear a voice from God saying, have you preached to those who sleep? Well, Jesus doesn't answer. The cross answer said, yeah, sure have, Well, wait a minute here. First of all, you talk about legendary stuff. I mean, this is wacky stuff that you would expect to see legend that grows up a long time later. Number two, this cannot come from the 1st century. It cannot be an early document and therefore reliable because it has priests spending the night in a cemetery. I mean, I interviewed Craig Evans, who is a universally respected scholar of ancient history, and he will tell you that there is no priest in the 1st century, because of rules about cleanliness and so forth, that would ever dream of spending the night in a cemetery. So this is wacky stuff.
Yeah, even so, you got guys like John Dominic Crossan of the Jesus Seminar dating this book at 50 A.D.
I mean, I want to tell you, I think that's irresponsible. It's just irresponsible because the evidence is so much to the contrary. Whoever wrote this was so unfamiliar with 1st century Jewish culture that he would dare put in a ridiculous thing like priests spending the night in the cemetery. This is probably dated to the 3rd or 4th century. It is irrelevant in terms